Okay. Bring the meeting to order, and prior to the open session, there was a closed meeting. And it was moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor Borneman that pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001, C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moves to a meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to C, a proposed or pending acquisition of land for municipal or local board purpose, disposition of municipally owned land and potential wellness center location, D, labor relations or employee negotiations, performance review, Dave Thompson, personnel matters, and update on CIO candidates. And that was carried. Okay. Are there any additions to the agenda or notice of motion? Councillor McCann?
So I was wondering if we could add to the agenda, I guess, a resolution to send direction to staff regarding the idea of a public water tap. At least bring it up for discussion this evening.
Okay. Are those in favor of having that discussed later in the agenda? Nope, nobody is. Okay, all right. Okay. We have an addition, item 5.1, DBA presentation rescheduled for June 5th, so that has been withdrawn. Item 5.2, Jeremy Newton deputation is withdrawn, and we'll schedule a later date with the clerk. Item 10.1.2, MOU Macklem Dennis Drive withdrawn and should be on the next meeting's agenda. So, yes, Councillor McCann.
There was one error too. Yeah, I think it was item 9.2.1 with reference to the architectural.
Oh, that'll be dealt with during that resolution. Yeah. So those are the changes in the actual agenda. May I have a mover and seconder for the agenda, please? Okay. Councillor Marshall and Councillor Borneman. That the council agenda for May 15th be approved as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Councillor Keith, Councillor McCann. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held April 17th, 2018 be approved as circulated. Any discussion on those minutes? No. All in favor? That's carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Keith.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Menz. I'm just wondering about the plant a tree, the memory. Where is that in the process?
Through Mr. Mayor, the program, it has been, I'll call it backburnered for quite some time, but it is on the goal plan for the Parks and Recreation Manager. It is, it'll be part of a bigger policy program that she will be bringing to council later this year for a parks management plan, and it is clearly on within the content of that policy and program that she will be bringing to you. So you can expect it likely in the fall. If I could, Mr. Mayor. Sure. So if there was interest in the community, and there has been some interest for people looking to put up a tree in memory of a loved one, they can pursue that still if they contact April McNamara directly and just call the town office, or and we'll pursue it from there.
Would that be that even if they were interested in that and say they were considering, because we've had some trees cut down in the cemetery, would she still cover that area if they were suggesting, you know, could I plant a little seedling in the cemetery? Would she still be taking that also on as responsibility, or would that be a joint thing with Ann Herdman?
Through Mr. Mayor, it would be a joint effort between Public Works and Ms. Herdman, who looks after the cemetery administration, and of course Public Works, and Ms. McNamara.
Any further questions of staff? Seeing none, correspondence, Ms. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fairly short list this evening. We received a thank you card from Margaret Idison, a thank you card for supporting him and his family at the Pyeongchang Paralympic Games. It was circulated to Mayor and Council and posted on the staff bulletin board. A letter from Al and Lorna Kinnear on behalf of Avery Court residents and the Parkette. The letter was sent on behalf of 18 residents of Avery Court requesting repair of the severe winter damage caused by snow removal efforts that has been contained into the Parkette. That was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the Director of Public Works for follow-up. And then the rest of the correspondence is AMO watch files for April 12th, April 19th, April 26th, and May the 3rd. And those are municipal industry newsletters from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. And were circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for inclusion in the agenda. And that's it.
Very good, thank you. So deputations are done. And just to check to make sure no one else is making a deputation, so I guess we're good to go. So Mayor and Councilors reports. Where are we? Councilor McCann? Okay.
Wasn't expected to go first. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council and staff and people watching here in the gallery and those watching at home. On Wednesday afternoon, April 18th, I attended the Northern Policy Institute workshop at the Bob Muir Community Center to provide my thoughts on how Parry Sound can affect or be affected by provincial policies, especially for the North. The NPI visits 2 northern communities annually to hear from community leaders and stakeholders. Had an opportunity to talk about the benefits and the challenges that we have here in Parry Sound. On Wednesday, April 25th, I attended the Belvedere Heights Board of Management monthly meeting with Councillor Paul Borneman. More on strategic planning. Belvedere has been working with a company called People Minded Business. We reviewed a Belvedere Heights pre-strategic planning document. The board reviewed legislative updates as well, particularly concerning publication of performance levels. And the performance levels of long-term care homes are now posted on the ministry's website. If you're interested, you can Google find long-term care homes in Ontario. That's the easiest way to find it. We also had auditors from KPMG on site April 30th to complete their audit work with community services. And so that is that. Then along with Mr. Mayor and with Councillors Borneman and Marshall, we attended the Municipal Association meeting in Powassan April 27th. That was a really interesting day. The guest speaker that day talked about cybersecurity and basically spoke on how we need to have a plan going forward and know how to be protected, and just to become cognizant of the dangers that are out there. So that was a good one. Then on Monday evening, April 30th, the West Parry Sound Health Centre municipal meeting was held, and I was there. Mayor Jamie, you were there as well too. It was interesting to hear what they were up to. Park to Park was held, meeting was held April 10th. I couldn't make that one, but I want to draw your attention to the Do It for Dads ATV rally, which is coming up in June. And it is, of course, in an effort to raise money for prostate cancer research. Go to parktopark.org for more information on that. And the grand opening of the Cascade Street Falls Generation Station was on Friday, May 11th. Councillor Keith, Councillor Marshall, myself, and Mr. Mayor, we were there. A wonderful building and a great technology that's there in that magnificent new building. So it was a pleasure and an honor to be there at an historic piece of an event that we hope this plant will serve for another 100 years. And today, I attended the Belvedere Strat meeting this morning, and we're moving forward with lots of ideas and lots of positive energy, working with community stakeholders, and really looking forward to a positive future, sustaining future with Belvedere Heights. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Horn?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be brief as there's a hockey game on tonight. Today I had the privilege in sitting in on the recruitment of the new CAO for the town of Parry Sound, replacing Mr. Menz after 20 years of great service. And we had interviews all day today. Along with me was Councillor Borneman and Mayor McGarvey, and we look forward to continuing the process. And just a reminder that this Friday, May 18th, is the deadline for the Youth Award applications for the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame Youth Celebrations on June 23rd. So if you do have some outstanding youth in the community, please get the applications for nominations in by this Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Keith?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and the public. I'm afraid I won't be so brief. April the 18th, I attended the Volunteer Appreciation Night along with the mayor, of course, at the Stocky Center. There was about 200 volunteers there. I have to say that April and all the staff did a fine job, and the comedian that was picked, Steve Patterson, certainly had me laughing all night. I think he was well worth his money, and I know from the laughter of people there, certainly I was not the only one who appreciated that. April the 19th, I attended some of the Downtown Business Association annual meeting. I couldn't do it all because I also had another commitment of a further meeting later on, but it certainly was very interesting to hear Police Officer Nick Mestayan explain in a workshop on tips of how to prevent articles from being stolen, basically, from your business. I found that very educational. Certainly there was a facilitator, Patty Hayes, that came and spoke in reference to how the downtown business, the strategic plan came about, and her co-facilitating. So that was very interesting, as well as hearing from the chair. I had to leave that meeting before it finished because I had a prior commitment of attending the Community Policing Advisory Committee. There were only 4 member municipalities on that, or attended that night. Our Staff Sergeant Mike Gordon and Sergeant Jeremy McDonald were there. Basically in our area, violent crime for the quarter compared to last year is down. Property crime is up, and some of that certainly relates to theft unders and mischiefs. Again, there seems to be the continued concern that if you don't lock your vehicle, expect to have things stolen from it. It's not right, but it seems we're in a day and age that you need to keep your vehicle locked. Also, I noticed there, for statistics, there was an increase in drug charges, and that was due to a large cocaine seizure, which was again related to, we're on the Trans-Canada Highway, and it seems that this had certainly a lot to do with how this seizure came about. The larger concern in our community still seems to be of marijuana use. However, that number is also dropping. False 911 calls, there is a decrease in them, which is a good thing besides the pocket dials, so that's a positive. The police are continuing to use the focus control patrols and ride checks. In the last quarter, there was over 600 vehicles stopped, and we had 4 stunt drivers charged, and that's really unfortunate because we all need to be in a safe community. Police seem to be being very proactive with an upcoming meeting regarding having emergency inventory for the marine equipment in our Parry Sound area. And we know that certainly the waters in this area are well used once the ice is gone, and certainly we're at that point now. April 23rd, I attended the Parry Sound Area Planning Board meeting. 2 applications were approved. April 25th, I attended the Leisure activities fair held at the Bobby Orr Community Center. 29 participants there. Again, it was well organized, I thought, and April and Rob did a fine job there. April 26th, for me anyways, it marked a pitch-in week, and on 2 different evenings, I felt that I did my duty in trying to pitch in and collect garbage on the routes into town. So I figured I did 7 kilometers and I got 9 bags of garbage. And why I'm saying that, the thing that I most was concerned about in the litter that I picked up is beyond me why people are throwing out soiled plastic diapers and doggy poo bags that are filled of doggy poo. I do not understand this because I think both of those things certainly say not a respect for your community, not a respect for other people besides your environment. April 28th was another wellness day, and I attended that. It was very interesting. May 2nd was McDonald's McHappy Day. I participated there, and I'm getting to be quite the face painter. If I keep this up, I may be Leonardo da Vinci's second, maybe. May 3rd was a Harvest Share annual meeting. I was pleased to hear about them moving to the new location. About 30 people there. It was great to hear the new programs that are coming into effect. May 6th, I attended as deputy mayor the privilege of going to Belvedere Heights and meeting Lady Winifred Maud Russell. She turned 100, and I have to say that's quite a feat in itself. May 8th, I attended the Smart Communities annual meeting, and they had a guest speaker that spoke about blockchain. I found that really interesting, and I found it really helpful to me because she explained it in a very simple fashion, which I can appreciate. May 10th was myself again attending the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. There was a board function there because they were having a 2-day convention. So I was pleased to be able to bring welcoming thoughts to the board from our community, and also to get a better idea of their long-term vision and some of their concerns. March 11th was the official open house for the Cascade Generation Plant. And certainly, besides what Councillor McCann expressed, I would say also having the little spirit singers there and the water ceremony certainly contributed a lot to the opening of that plant. So that was great. May the 11th, I attended also the open house. It was a wellness at Information Center at Belvedere Heights, where they were having all sorts of businesses involved there, and Donna Kerfus, who is now starting a foot care business, was there, so it was great to cut ribbon there. And my last thing, and that would be to remind people that the CNIB are having their 100th year celebration on May the 17th. That's this Thursday, from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. So they certainly are hoping that not only councillors come out, anybody on any council, but also citizens. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marshall?
Yes, good evening, everybody. On April 25th, I attended a regular meeting of the Waterfront Advisory Committee along with Councillor Borneman. On the same night at 6 p.m., I attended a boundary meeting with Seguin Township here at the municipal office. The next day, on the 26th, I chaired a regular meeting of the West Parry Sound Museum Board, and the following night, I had a busy 3 days. I accompanied the mayor and Councillor McCann to Powassan for the semi-annual meeting of the Parry Sound Municipal Association. I think Councillor McCann spoke about the cybersecurity issues. Another thing, Dr. Jim Chirocco spoke at length about marijuana and some of the issues and some of the challenges that are going to be coming with municipalities with the upcoming legislation, which is about 45 days away. So it was always an interesting discussion listening to Dr. Chirocco. He's got some very interesting ideas on things, and certainly makes you think. So I'm not sure if anybody's going to be prepared for July 1st. This past Thursday, I had the honor of being in attendance along with Councillor McCann, Councillor Keith, and the mayor at the Cascade Street Generating Station opening. The amazing thing about this is that it came in on budget, $17 million, on time, and is housed in an absolutely amazing, architecturally beautiful generating building. The original generating station was built in 1919, so almost 100 years ago, produced just 1.2 megawatts, and with the new generating station in there, it produces 3.1 megawatts of power at full capacity, and enough to supply 2,700 homes. So the last one lasted 100 years, maybe this one will last 100 years as well. So that's my report. Thank you.
Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. On the 18th, I attended the Northern Policy Institute evening session. Their staff here are already making use of the Institute. They're a Northern Ontario independent think tank. I think that they will become more useful to municipalities and others who are trying to make business cases to the province and the feds for funding for transportation and other issues as time goes on. They certainly had, since that meeting, their website has had some significant additions, and they had more information about us than what we have ourselves, so I have some confidence in what they're doing. Councillor Keith mentioned the DVA's AGM. I guess after she left, there was further presentation about the updates to the websites that's underway, under construction, whatever the right term is for those things these days. I would also say that I think in general, attendance was up, and I was particularly pleased to see some of the newer, younger business owners in the downtown core come out and be willing to contribute to subcommittees for beautification and other things that will hopefully be struck in the not too distant future. April 22nd, along with a group of people, I did my Earth Day thing. We marched along the fitness trail and gathered garbage. Unfortunately, we probably didn't do a very good job because we had a snowstorm earlier that week, and I'm sure we left some behind. On the 24th, I attended an all-day strat planning meeting with Belvedere Heights. The following day, as Councillor McCann mentioned, was a monthly board meeting. Council should know, seniors' residential homes are becoming more and more regulated through the province. There was a time in the not very distant past that the Belvedere board was pretty much independent of local political influence, and it was only because of some issues that occurred there that we now have 5 municipal councillors sitting on the board. I brought that up at our last meeting. There are way too many people like me. There are way too many skill set gaps, facilities management, finance, IT, and I think that it's time for us and other municipalities going forward in the next term to consider putting some trust in the community and reaching out for lay people to serve on that board in order to provide management with some support in some of those areas and functions. I did take a week's vacation in there and headed to Halifax to see that wing of the clan. I'm happy to report I think all is well there. May 7th, I was back. Again, Councillor McCann reported on the Snowbirds meeting. I just want to thank staff and our #1 volunteer, Mr. Massey. This is coming together better and more quickly than I thought was possible to start with. Now all we need on June 13th is some cooperation from Mother Nature. Wednesday to Friday of last week was the Phenom conference in Parry Sound. I'm sure you'll want to report more on that, Mr. Mayor. I'd only say that you hear nothing but positive comments about the Stocky Center, and you hear nothing but positive comments about our staff and the work they did putting that together. I wasn't at the grand opening. I was at lunch with the staff on May 11th, and I'm particularly proud of what's happened at Cascade Street. From my years at Parry Sound Hydro, I was especially happy to hear that a number of those individuals not only were invited, they came out to see what was going on. When your point of reference is a 100-year-old plant, what's down there now is like going from a horse-drawn carriage to a jet airliner. The improvement is just almost beyond belief. And I share Councillor Marshall's comment. I hope that 100 years from now, someone is down there thinking of the next greatest thing they can do with water power and reflect back that what's happened there has been a good decision for the community. Today, as Councillor Horn mentioned, we conducted interviews all day long for Mr. Menz's eventual replacement. Bobby Orr Group's been checked off, CNIB's checked off. I just seen a notice earlier today that the Wabano Beach received blue flag designation for the 5th consecutive year. The press release said something about this is a testament to the town's environmental management. There are 33 criteria and 4 categories, and it shows that we're managing and maintaining that facility in an environmentally sustainable way. And today I want to close in thanking and congratulating Murray Orr. Mr. Orr served on a contract basis since 1984, looking after the ice making facility at the Bobby Orr Arena. He's served us, he's treated those machines like his family. He served us and the community extremely well and in an extremely fair way for those many years. And I want to thank Murray for his time and dedication and wish him all the well in his second bout at retirement. Congratulations. Yeah. And that's my report, Mr.
Okay, thank you. Yes, he certainly does deserve some accolades for what he's done. There's been times when, with that ice plant, that he's been the go-to guy to make sure everything is just running properly. So council, staff, and public, since the first meeting in May was canceled, there's been a few meetings since our last meeting. As mentioned, April 18th was Volunteer Appreciation Night, which was held at the Stocky Centre. And this was the town's opportunity to thank those who give their time in Parry Sound. Their efforts are certainly greatly appreciated, and there were a good number of people that attended that were able to listen to the comedy of Steve Patterson, and I have to agree with Councillor Keith. He was extremely funny, and some people come out of there saying, geez, he should have a band and be a singer. Like, he was really good. And there was a good crowd on hand. It was good to see. April 19th was the DBA's AGM, which was held at the Legion, and that's been covered. April 24th, I attended the Wellness Committee Center Committee meeting, well-attended meeting with representatives from all 7 municipalities and 2 First Nations communities. April 25th, the boundary meeting with Seguin Township was discussed. April 26th, there was a meeting at the CBDC office with a developer that I attended. April 26th at 1 p.m. I had an AMO executive meeting by conference call. April 27th was the Parry Sound District Municipal Association meeting in Powassan, which both Councillor McCann and Councillor Marshall have covered. April 30th at 1:40 p.m. I was on hand to help with the flag raising for Community Living Parry Sound. I really appreciate the efforts of Community Living Parry Sound and their very inclusive approach. Big thank you to the staff, board of directors, and volunteers, and thank you to Councillor Horn for emceeing the event. April 30th at 7 p.m. I attended an update meeting with the West Parry Sound Health Center, and Councillor McCann was also there. I certainly want to extend the appreciation to the CEO and staff of the Health Center for allowing this information sharing meeting. May 1st to the 4th, I attended the Ontario Small Urban Conference in Niagara Falls. We had a well-attended event with lots of information sharing. John Miller, who's been in the newspaper business for more than 50 years, a prize-winning reporter, head of Canada's largest journalism school, and frontline editor for the country's largest newspaper, was our opening keynote speaker. He gave an interesting perspective on the demise of newspapers in our country. I also had an opportunity to talk to him one-on-one, which was extremely interesting in how the newspaper business is going. And he was very interested in Parry Sound too, and where it's at. We also had Andrew Coyne as a guest speaker, and I believe most people catch Andrew Coyne in many of the political commentary programs on television. And he gave a very interesting talk on where the province and country are going politically. Some of it's good, some of it can be scary. Anyway, our OSIN committee had its wrap-up meeting on May 4th. My 2-year term as chair will end in August of this year, and then Graydon Smith, the mayor of Bracebridge, will be the new chair of that committee, and Gail Ardell will be the vice chair. After the meeting, I was presented with the commemorative gavel that chairs of the OSIM committee get for their thanks as serving as chair on that particular committee. May 9th to the 11th was the Phenom Conference, which was, as mentioned, held here in Parry Sound. From the opening remarks to the provincial leaders' debate on Friday, it was a busy 3 days. Thought-provoking information with a Northern Ontario focus on the issues. And Thursday night, I was very honored to receive Phenom's Executive Award. Once a year, they give an award to somebody, and that's what I got. So, yeah. Well, I'll just read what it says. It's in honor of a distinguished political career and his dedicated and exemplary efforts which have contributed enormously to the growth and prosperity of North and the well-being of its citizens. And I have to thank Rob Menz, Howard Wesley, and Bonnie Ramsey for nominating me for that. So very much appreciated. On Friday, May 11th was the leaders' debate, and this drew an absolutely amazing crowd. And it was amazing, all the people trying to get into the event that shouldn't be getting into the event, and it was, just a whole lot, and people not understanding that it was a controlled event through Phenom, not a town event, and which led to some confusion. But this drew an amazing amount of attention to Parry Sound, like literally every news channel, radio channel, whatever. They were all covering what was going on. And the whole conference was just absolutely great for the community. There were about 170 delegates, plus many brought their spouses, and then there were all of the vendors. And I will have to say that there were considerably more on the Friday because of the leadership debate. The amount of media coverage for the debate was amazing on what went on. And I really have to thank the Phenom Board and Ministry of Municipal Affairs and our staff, April McNamara, Jesse Langford, and Lynn Madaw. They were absolutely great. Lynn Madaw finished off her employment with the town during this event, and there were many comments about their professionalism. So kudos to them on how they handled it, and they just made the town look great. So May 11th at 10:15, I attended the opening of the Cascade Street Generation Station. This was a very considered event, as Wasauksing First Nation, some of the councillors from Wasauksing and the Little Spirit Singers were on hand. There was a water ceremony performed, and it was good to see some of the past board members and staff of Parry Sound Power there. I'd certainly like to thank those council members that were in attendance. And the new generation station will provide just over 2 times the power of the former plant, and this will secure greater interest and dividends for the town of Parry Sound in the future. And of course, we have to thank Lakeland Power for their considerable investment in the community. May 11th, in the afternoon at 2 p.m., I then attended the nursing recognition event at the West Parry Sound Health Centre. Some of the delegates from the Northern Ontario Medical School were also on hand for the presentation. Congratulations to those nominated: Christine Marshall, Jordan Patton, Lacey McEwen, Devin Colmer, Jennifer Bishop, Shelby Greenaway, and Cheryl Tranter were all nominated. The Excelling in Nursing Award went to Lacey McEwen, but certainly congratulations to all of them. I will say that I certainly commend all the nurses for their efforts as frontline staff. They deserve certainly my utmost respect. And that's my report. Finally. Oh, well, good. Okay, so now we're going to deal with some ratifications from the closed agenda. And the first one is item 7.1. Staff were provided direction from council regarding municipally owned property. And then 7.2, a resolution moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn that the performance review dated June 2017 for Dave Thompson be accepted. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. None opposed. Thanks, Dave. And the next is part of 7.2, which is a bylaw, and it's moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann. That bylaw number 2018-6834, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an employment contract for the position of Director of Development and Protective Services, be considered as read a first time. Just all in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned can be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Do you want any explanation on what this is doing?
I could.
Just a quick.
Sure. Through Mr. Mayor, just what this bylaw is, the impact of this is that Mr. Thompson has been our fire chief, our director of emergency services, and now our director of protective and development services. He's been with us for just over 5 years. When we hire new people, we generally start them on a 5-year contract, and if things work out, we'll extend that contract, and it's a permanent employment relationship that the individual will have with the town. So somehow Dave managed to do that. Dave's been great to work with. He's a great person on the team. So yeah. He's solidly as a full-time permanent employee.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Any further discussion? No? All in favor? And that's carried. So now it's official. Okay, and item 7.3, council and staff held discussions regarding the other 3 items that were listed on closed. So that's, yeah. Okay, I better, I'll worry about that in a minute. Okay, item 8.1, moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn. The Council for the Town of Parry Sound endorses and supports Mayor Jamie McGarvey's nomination submission to run for President of the Association of Municipalities Ontario for the 2018 to 2020 term. Discussion. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, everyone. Oh. Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, it's the president. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor McCann, whereas the Parliament of Canada wishes to increase awareness among Canadians of the significant benefits of physical activity and to encourage Canadians to increase their level of physical activity and their participation in recreational supports and fitness activities. And where it is in Canada's interest to improve the health of all Canadians and to reduce the burden of illness on Canadian families and on the Canadian healthcare system. Whereas the Government of Canada wishes to encourage local governments to facilitate Canadians' participation in healthy physical activities, and whereas the Government of Canada wishes to encourage the country's local governments, non-government organizations, the private sector, and all Canadians to recognize the first Saturday in June as National Health and Fitness Day, and to mark the day with local events and initiatives celebrating and promoting the importance and use of local health, recreational, sports, and fitness facilities. And whereas Canadian Environment Week is observed through the country in early June, and walking and cycling are great ways to reduce vehicle pollution and improve physical fitness. And whereas declaring the first Saturday in June to be National Health and Fitness Day will further encourage Canadians to participate in physical activities and contribute to their own health and well-being, therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Council proclaim June 2nd, 2018 National Health and Fitness Day in the town of Parry Sound. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I need that drink of water. It's the next one coming up. Yeah. This is the. Oh yeah, but is this direction or?
It's
just direction. Okay, so I need a mover and seconder for the direction. Councillor Horn and Councillor Marshall. Whereas an interest in the development of a recreational complex, including a swimming pool, exists in West Parry Sound, and whereas a recreational complex will meet the needs and interests of all West Parry Sound communities by encouraging healthy lifestyles, social interactions, and physical well-being through education, recreation, wellness, and athletic activities, and will also support the area's economic development objectives. And whereas the West Parry Sound Pool and Wellness Committee has conducted background research on the development of a recreational complex and convened a meeting with the West Parry Sound municipalities and First Nations to present their findings. And whereas the West Parry Sound Pool and Wellness Committee at their meeting of April 24th, 2018 passed a resolution requesting that councils direct their staff, CAO, to collectively meet and finalize a common package for future deliberations by council, including 1. Preferred governance / operation model of shareholders corporation, 2. A terms of reference, and 3. A funding model. Now therefore be it resolved that the council for the township of, it says here, the archipelago, hereby directs the CAO to meet with the CAOs of the surrounding interested municipalities and First Nations to work towards the preparation of a common development proposal package for future deliberation by all the councils, which shall include but not be limited to 1. A preferred governance operational model for a shareholders corporation, 2. A terms of reference for the West Parry Sound Pool and Wellness Committee to advance the project, 3. A funding model for the project, right. So that's the direction. We need an amendment, Councillor Marshall, Councillor Horn, to change the Township of Archipelago to, now therefore be it resolved, the Council for the Town of Parry Sound. Discussion on that? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so that will make that change. I can just put a line through that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Discussion on the resolution or direction as amended. Mr. Mintz.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, having attended that meeting, I think what was really most surprising in a very positive way was within relatively short order, all of the municipalities and First Nations, at least in principle, agreed to a funding, for the concept at least of a funding formula. And that, after 21 years waiting for something like that, all of a sudden it was done in 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah. It was quite surprising, and as I say, it's not like there's signatures on the bottom line on it, but the concept is very simple. It doesn't really talk about households, population, and assessment. I think if the municipalities and the First Nations can deal with that, then everything else will be manageable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they basically worked it on shares, which was interesting. So, any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, that's carried. These are all long-winded stuff tonight, aren't they? Item 931, moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor McCann. The Council for the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound hereby grants permission for Mr. J. Anastasia to operate one motorized mobile ice cream truck for the time period of May 15th, 2018 to September 30th, 2018 on municipally owned roads and lands of the Town of Parry Sound, subject to the following conditions. 1. No parking, stopping, or selling products on any Class 3 road, example, Bowes, Seguin, Church, or Joseph Street. No parking, stopping, or selling products along any Class 4, Class 5, or Class 6 roadway without a shoulder or marked parking spaces. 3. No parking, stopping, or selling products in any municipally owned parking lot. 4. The operator will take necessary steps to ensure the public sidewalks are not obstructed. 5. No parking, stopping, or selling within the prescribed distance 23 meters from any eating establishment or selling of foodstuffs. Number 6, $3 million public liability coverage for a refreshment vehicle is required at this, as this is a motorized mobile vehicle. 7. The hours of operation will be from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Monday to Sunday, and selling on any one location will be limited to 20 minutes. Number 9, must receive owner's written consent to park and sell on private property, and a copy of the letter submitted to the town's licensing officer. 10, that every employee who operates or works out of the motorized mobile ice cream truck must submit a criminal record check. And 11, that all of the requirements under bylaw 2006-49 Schedule 1 be met. Discussion. Councillor Keith.
Yes, a comment and I guess a question, and that would be the comment. First of all, it's nice to hear there hasn't been any complaints since the truck has been up and running. And I don't know if this question is for you, Mr. Beaumont, but I'm sure you can help me out. Although it's not a complaint, one of my concerns about the truck is that people come and buy food stuff, and there's time where there's garbage, napkins, or whatever, and I'm wondering, is there any sort of, like a little garbage can, a refuse can, maybe at the back of the truck, because you couldn't have it where people are trying to purchase the can would maybe be in the way. Is there anything like that on the truck so that people aren't littering out and then town people are picking up something else?
Mr. Beaumont? Oh, the button on the side. Yeah.
Through you, Your Worship, Councillor Keith, as far as I know, that he does provide that, litter containers when he makes the stops. That was one of our discussions when the first year that he did it. Was to provide something like that.
Mr. Beaumont, could you just kind of clarify, how does he provide that little garbage can? Like, where is it? Does it hook up somewhere? Is there something attached? I'm just not clear. Where is the can, roughly?
Through you, Your Worship, to the best of my knowledge, Councillor Keith, it is to the rear of the vehicle. away from where he sells the stuff, but in visible sight of the people purchasing stuff. I've never seen it. Like I haven't seen him. I haven't been around when he's been selling stuff, but that was my understanding when he first came in to approach us 3 years ago.
So my last query on that is, if this is approved tonight, can that just be checked? Because I think that is important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beaumont. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn that council accept the tender from Cubex Limited for a new model year articulating sidewalk plow in the amount of $187,649.30, including taxes and delivery. Discussion. Councillor Borneman.
Couldn't allow Mr. McEwen to be here without having opportunity. So, Mr. McEwen, have we dealt with this company before? And is the machine that we're referring to replacing an existing sidewalk cleaner?
Your Worship and Mr. Councillor Borman, no, we have never dealt with this company directly. We've demoed a couple machines for them. They had sidewalk sweepers and other pieces of machinery they brought around 3 or 4 different times. This specific machine, they had it here in the winter months, and everything seemed to be very well through staff. Like, they really enjoyed the machine, and it seemed to do the job very well.
Councillor Keith.
Yes, Mr. McEwen, I'm wondering if you just clarify. I got the impression that when we had the capital budget, there was roughly $7,500 that was put towards a possibility of a new plow blade. But I understand if we purchase this tonight, that blade will already be, that will be part of that machinery, so therefore we won't need to be purchasing a separate blade. Would that be correct? So money can be used elsewhere?
Correct. That money would go towards this actual machine. It is over what we budgeted for the machine directly, but this machine is coming with a plow. So we'd probably be putting that 75 with the purchase of this machine.
Anything further? Nope. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Mr. McEwen. I need a mover and seconder for the direction. Councillor Keith, Councillor Borneman. That the CAO be directed to prepare a report and recommendation on the use of discarded needles, on the issue of discarded needles. And Councillor Borneman, you're the spokesperson on this one.
So council will recall that last summer we received a deputation with respect to this matter. I think it's pretty much impossible at this point for any of us to have any way or means to accurately quantify what really the issue is in the community. I've been following posts on Facebook and other electronic media. Mr. Newton, who was scheduled to make a deputation earlier and is in the body of the room this evening, had a story where his young daughter had come across some discarded syringes in a public space not very long ago. I think everybody here recognizes that we're not going to eliminate or eradicate this no matter what we do, but it is a public safety issue, and there, you know, as such, I don't think it's something that we can just simply wash our hands of and ignore, even though it probably is beyond the scope of a municipal council. Further to that, I do want folks in the community to know that the town is acting in a proactive way. Our public works staff have boxes in the vehicles. They and the rec staff are being trained how to deal with these things. We are putting up a drop box at the public washroom, the landfill site, and the public works yard. So we're not trying to ignore this. What I'm looking for tonight is to direct Mr. Menz to work with our partners in the community, particularly the health unit, as to who's doing what, defining some roles and responsibilities here, and trying to present a coordinated approach to the community, how to best deal with these things going forward. This isn't a town of Parry Sound issue specifically. I think this probably exists in every urban setting and beyond. And as I say, it's not something we're going to get rid of this evening, no matter what we do. But we need to do our bit in mitigating any risk to the citizenry of Parry Sound.
Thank you, Councillor Burnham, and I do agree that it's not just a local issue, it's every issue in every community and right across this country, United States, and around the world. But we need to deal with it locally as best that we can. So, and I certainly commend Mr. Newton and those others that are proactively trying to help. That's good. And are there any more comments from council? Councillor Horn, then Councillor Keith.
Thank you. The North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit has struck the Parry Sound Drug Strategy Committee, and I've been fortunate enough to attend a couple of meetings. And through discussion at that table, they're well aware of the issue, not only here, but the surrounding communities. And education is part of the piece moving forward for all those communities. So a great resource is the North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit, and they have some really good strategies in terms of keeping our communities safe. So I'm looking forward to continuing to sit on that committee.
Good, that's excellent. Councillor Keith.
I am going to ask one question in reference, or might be two, in reference to that committee. I'm wondering also if there's any business representatives that are on the committee, because it just seems to me businesses, landlords, it seems to me a buy-in from various sectors in our community that can, again, incorporate the ideas, again, of education awareness, I think will have a really positive effect on our community. So I'm wondering, are there representatives in that area also that are on that committee or board?
As the committee was just struck, and that has only had 2 meetings moving forward, that is hopefully the plan, and connecting with those other community partners, which includes the business element.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Well, he's here. I don't want to embarrass him, but I do want to commend Mr. Newton, and he has a posse of friends, and I think this is all part of a solution here. They've been meeting and having cleanup nights, going to specific areas where they suspect there may be problems. And I think, as I said, that's part of the solution here. I think community engagement and knowledge is all part of the best end result. So I want to thank Jeremy and his folks for undertaking that on their own, and I would encourage others who have the same concerns as he and we have that they might want to participate in some of that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's should be duly noted too that these need to be, any discarded needles or syringes, that they are handled in an appropriate fashion so as not to be infected or whatever, and that they are discarded into the appropriate box and taken to the health unit for disposal. That would be my suggestion as to where they go, so that the health unit has track of what is being brought in. So they're not just dumped in a garbage bag or thrown out improper containers. So, thank you. Item 10.11, moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn, that bylaw number 2018-6829, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a funding agreement with the Department of Canadian Heritage, Canada Arts and Presentation Fund, CAP, for the Stocky Centre programming, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn, and that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Keith.
Yes, I'm wondering, Mr. Mans, if you can advise me why the period is 3 years. What was the decision in that area?
Through Mr. Mayor, working with our Heritage Canada, that was what they put forward to the town, and it was more efficient that way rather than having to go through the application process on an annual basis. This way there's certainty at the federal level and at the municipal level as to what our revenues are going to be and what their contributions are going to be.
So in other words, was that the best deal we could get? We couldn't get any longer?
That's what was on the table for us, yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. I'm just glad we're getting something out of it. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Okay, it's moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2018-6831, being a bylaw to regulate election signs in the town of Parry Sound in federal, provincial, and municipal elections, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor Marshall, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Now, there are some amendments that need to be considered in this particular bylaw. Section 210D changed 9 meters to 7.5 and 29.6 feet to 24.6. And section 3.2D changed 9 meters to 7.5 and 29.6 feet to 24.6 feet. Mover and seconder for that? Councillor Marshall, Councillor McCann. Discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? It's carried. Any discussion on the bylaw as amended? Councillor Keith.
I was just wondering, because the bylaw has to be circulated before it comes back here this evening, were there any complaints or changes registered by anybody in the public?
Ms. Fox.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, it was circulated twice, and there were no comments either time, so.
It's good to go. Any, yeah, just in time, yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that's carried as amended. Should I put on here as amended? Don't need to? Okay. Moved by Councillor Horn and seconded by Councillor Keith that bylaw number 2018-6832, being a bylaw to strike the tax rates for municipal purposes for the year 2018, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Horn and seconded by Councillor Keith that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann and seconded by Councillor Borneman that bylaw number 2018-6833, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor McCann that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled to take place at 52 Seguin Street in the council chambers located on the top floor. Public access to the building is off Gibson Street. The next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, June the 5th, 2017 at 7 p.m. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Regular and special meetings are now live streamed. Please check news and public notices on our website at www.parrysound.ca for instructions to watch live or see earlier council meetings. Agendas, changes to the council meeting schedule, and notices of special council meetings will be posted on the town's website at www.parrysound.ca under news and public notices. Prior to a council meeting, the public is able to view an electronic copy of the complete agenda with attachments on the town's website. Just search council calendar and the date of the meeting. Should you wish to receive a combined agenda via email, you may make that request on our website or contact the clerk at the municipal office. The minutes of the council meetings will be posted within 2 days after the council meetings on the town's website and on the bulletin board located in the municipal office entrance. Your TV will continue to air the regular Parry Sound Council meetings on Wednesday at 9 p.m. and Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. For your TV listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. Now, don't forget to ensure that you are on the municipal voters list for the upcoming municipal election. Go to the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation's MPAC website, www.voterlookup.ca, to check. So again, that's www.voterlookup.ca to check to see if you're on the municipal voters list. So thank you, everyone, and have a great night.